The unexpected hero. The vastness of space stretched out before Captain Jack Harper as he piloted his small scout ship through the debris field of a recent battle. The twinkling stars seemed to mock the destruction around him, a stark reminder of the fragility of life in the face of the universe's indifference. Jack had seen his fair share of conflict in his years with the Terran Defense Force, but nothing quite like this. "Control, this is Scout 7. Jack's voice crackled over the comm. "I'm picking up some strange readings near the edge of the Centauri system. Request permission to investigate." There was a moment of static before the reply came through. "Scout 7, this is Control. Permission granted, but proceed with caution. We've had reports of increased Zarkonian activity in that sector." Jack's lips tightened into a grim line. The Zarkonians, a warrior race that had been expanding their territory at an alarming rate. Humanity had managed to stay out of their way so far, but tensions were rising. "Copy that, Control. I'll keep my eyes peeled." As Jack maneuvered his ship deeper into the debris field, his sensors began to pick up an anomalous energy signature. It was faint but distinct, definitely not natural. He adjusted his course, curiosity piqued. Suddenly, a massive shape loomed out of the darkness. Jack's eyes widened as he took in the sleek, alien design of the ship before him. It was easily 10 times the size of his scout vessel, its hull gleaming with an iridescent sheen that seemed to absorb the light around it. But what caught his attention were the scorch marks and gaping holes that marred its surface. "Control, I found something," Jack reported, his voice tense. "It's a Zarkonian ship, and it's been attacked. Looks like it took one hell of a beating." "Scout 7, do not engage. Repeat, do not." The transmission cut off abruptly as a burst of energy erupted from the damaged Zarkonian vessel. Jack's hands flew over the controls, narrowly avoiding the blast. His heart raced as he realized the implications. The ship wasn't as dead as it had appeared. "Damn it," Jack muttered, weighing his options. Protocol dictated that he should retreat and report back, but something nagged at him. If there were survivors on that ship, leaving them to die would go against everything he stood for. Making a split-second decision, Jack guided his ship closer to the Zarkonian vessel. As he approached, he noticed a hangar bay, its doors partially open. It was a risk, but it might be his only way in. With expert precision, Jack maneuvered his scout ship into the hangar. The moment he touched down, he was on high alert, grabbing his pulse rifle and emergency kit. The air was thin but breathable as he exited his ship, the artificial gravity of the Zarkonian vessel still functioning. The interior of the ship was a maze of corridors, all bathed in an eerie, pulsating blue light. Jack moved cautiously, his training kicking in as he swept each area for threats. The ship was eerily quiet, save for the occasional groan of stressed metal. As he rounded a corner, Jack froze. Before him lay a scene of carnage. Zarkonian bodies strewn across the floor, their silver blood pooling beneath them. But these weren't battle wounds. They looked like executions. "What the hell happened here?" Jack whispered to himself, a chill running down his spine. A faint sound caught his attention, a whimper barely audible. Jack's head snapped towards its source, his rifle at the ready. Slowly, he approached a half-closed door, using his foot to push it open. The room beyond was clearly some sort of command center, filled with alien technology that hummed with residual energy. But what drew Jack's attention was a figure huddled in the corner, a Zarkonian still alive. As Jack approached, he realized this was no ordinary Zarkonian. The intricate markings on her silvery skin, the ornate armor she wore, this was someone of importance. Her large, luminous eyes locked onto him, a mixture of fear and defiance in their depths. "Easy," Jack said, lowering his weapon and raising his free hand in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "I'm not here to hurt you." The Zarkonian's eyes narrowed, her hand moving to a device on her wrist. Before Jack could react, she had activated it, and a shimmering force field sprung up between them. Whoa, whoa, Jack exclaimed, taking a step back. Look, I'm just trying to help. My name is Jack Harper. I'm a human from Earth. Are you? Are you all right? The Zarkonian regarded him silently for a long moment before speaking. Her voice was melodious, with an otherworldly quality that sent shivers down Jack's spine. I am Empress Zara of the Zarkonian Empire. And no human, I am not all right. My ship has been attacked, my loyal guards murdered, and now I find myself at the mercy of a primitive species. Jack blinked, taken aback by both her identity and her bluntness. Primitive? Lady, I just saved your life. A little gratitude wouldn't hurt. Zara's eyes flashed dangerously. Saved me. You have merely prolonged my capture. The rebels who did this will return, and when they do... Her words were cut short by a deafening explosion that rocked the ship. Jack stumbled, catching himself on a nearby console. Looks like your rebels are right on schedule, he muttered. Zora's force field flickered and died, the attack having disrupted the ship's remaining power. She stood, her regal bearing evident despite her circumstances. It seems I have little choice but to trust you, human. What do you propose? Jack's mind raced. He could hear the sound of weapons fire growing closer. We need to get to my ship. It's small, but it's fast. We might be able to outrun them. Zara's expression was unreadable. And why should I believe you won't simply hand me over to these rebels yourself? Because, Jack said, meeting her gaze steadily, where I come from, we don't leave people behind, even if they're not exactly grateful for the help. For a moment, Zara seemed taken aback by his words. Then, to Jack's surprise, a small smile curved her lips. Very well, Jack Harper of Earth, lead the way. As they made their way back through the corridors, the sounds of battle grew louder. Jack moved cautiously, his rifle at the ready, with Zara close behind. Despite her earlier disdain, she seemed to recognize the gravity of the situation and followed his lead without complaint. They were nearly at the hangar when a group of rebels rounded the corner ahead of them. Jack reacted instantly, pushing Zara behind a bulkhead and opening fire. His pulsed rifles spat energy bolts, dropping two of the attackers before they could react. Stay down, Jack shouted to Zara as he ducked back behind cover, enemy fire peppering their position. To his surprise, Zara didn't cower. Instead, she pulled a sleek alien weapon from a hidden compartment in her armor. I am an Empress, she said, her voice cool and determined. I do not stay down. Before Jack could protest, Zara had leaned out from behind the bulkhead, her weapon emitting a high-pitched whine before releasing a burst of energy that sent the remaining rebels flying. Jack stared at her, impressed despite himself. Nice shot. Zara merely nodded, a hint of satisfaction in her eyes. Shall we proceed? They made it to the hangar without further incident, but Jack's relief was short-lived. His scout ship was surrounded by rebel forces, their weapons trained on the small vessel. Damn it, Jack muttered, assessing the situation. There were at least a dozen of them, too many to take on in a straight fight. He turned to Zara. Any more tricks up your sleeve, Your Highness? Zara's eyes narrowed as she surveyed the scene. Perhaps, but I will require your assistance. She pointed to a control panel near the hangar doors. If you can reach that panel and initiate an emergency purge sequence, it should create enough of a distraction for us to reach your ship. Jack nodded, understanding the plan. It was risky, but it was their best shot. All right. On my mark, lay down some covering fire. I'll make a run for the panel. Zara nodded, readying her weapon. Jack took a deep breath, steeling himself. Now. He burst from cover, sprinting towards the control panel as Zara's weapon unleashed a barrage of energy blasts. The rebels scattered, caught off guard by the sudden assault. Jack slid the last few feet to the panel, his fingers flying over the alien controls as he tried to decipher their meaning. Any time now, human, Zara called out, her voice strained as she continued to hold off the rebels. Working on it, Jack shouted back. Finally, He found what he was looking for. With a triumphant grin, he slammed his hand down on the largest button. Alarms blared throughout the hangar as the emergency purge sequence initiated. Blast doors began to close, and the artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. The rebels, caught in the chaos, struggled to maintain their footing. "Now," Jack yelled, making a break for his ship. Zora was right behind him, her longer strides easily keeping pace. They reached the scout ship just as the rebels began to regroup. Jack practically threw himself into the pilot's seat, his hands flying over the controls. "Strap in," he called to Zara as the engines roared to life. The small ship lifted off, narrowly avoiding a barrage of enemy fire. Jack gritted his teeth as he maneuvered through the closing hangar doors, the hull scraping against the metal with a teeth-rattling screech. And then they were out, the vastness of space opening up before them. Jack didn't waste any time, pushing the engines to their limit as they shot away from the Zarkonian vessel. For several tense minutes, neither of them spoke, both watching the rear sensors for signs of pursuit. Finally, when it became clear they had escaped, Jack allowed himself to relax slightly. He turned to Zara, who was studying him with an unreadable expression. "Well," he said, attempting a smile, "that was exciting." To his surprise, Zara let out a soft laugh. "Indeed it was, Jack Harper of Earth. It seems I may have underestimated your species." Jack's smile widened. "We're full of surprises. Now, Your Highness, what say we find somewhere safe to lay low while we figure out our next move?" Zara nodded, her expression turning serious once more. "Yes, we have much to discuss. It seems the fate of my empire, and perhaps your world as well, may depend on what we do next." As Jack set a course for a nearby neutral space station, he couldn't help but feel that his life had just taken a turn for the extraordinary. Little did he know, this was only the beginning of an adventure that would change the course of galactic history. Worlds collide. The neon-lit corridors of Nexus Station hummed with activity as beings from 100 different worlds mingled in a cacophony of sights, sounds, and smells. Jack Harper, former Terran Defense Force captain, now reluctant bodyguard to an alien Empress, tried his best to blend in with the crowd. It wasn't easy when your companion was a 7-foot-tall silver-skinned royal with a penchant for drawing attention. "Your Highness," Jack muttered under his breath, "I thought we agreed on keeping a low profile." Empress Zara of the Zarkonian Empire glanced down at him, her luminous eyes narrowing slightly. "I am maintaining as low a profile as befits my station, human. Would you have me crawl on my hands and knees?" Jack sighed, running a hand through his disheveled hair. It had been 3 standard cycles since their daring escape from the rebel attack, and in that time, he'd learned that arguing with Zara was about as productive as trying to punch a black hole. "Look," he said, guiding them towards a less crowded area of the station, "I get that you're used to being in charge. But right now, we're in uncharted territory. Your empire thinks you're dead, the rebels are still out there, and we're stuck on a neutral station with more species than I can count. We need to be careful." Zara's expression softened slightly, a flicker of something almost like respect passing across her features. "Your concern is appreciated, Jack Harper, but do not forget that I have ruled an empire spanning galaxies. I am well versed in the art of diplomacy and subterfuge." As if on cue, a group of Starfian merchants brushed past them, their tentacles waving in agitation. One of them bumped into Zara, and before Jack could react, the Empress had the alien pinned against the wall, her arm pressed against its throat. "You dare touch the sovereign ruler of the Zarkonian Empire," Zara hissed, her voice low and dangerous. Jack moved quickly, placing a hand on Zara's arm. "Your Highness, remember what we discussed about cultural differences. I don't think that Axarthians have the same concept of personal space as your people." For a tense moment, Jack thought Zara might ignore him. Then, slowly, she released the terrified merchant, who scurried away with its companions, chittering in alarm. "Perhaps," Zara said stiffly, I still have some things to learn about interspecies interactions. Jack couldn't help but chuckle. Well, that's a start. Come on, let's find somewhere quiet where we can plan our next move. They made their way through the winding corridors of Nexus Station, eventually finding a small, dimly lit bar tucked away in one of the lower levels. The clientele was sparse and diverse, perfect for blending in. As they settled into a booth in the corner, a holographic menu flickered to life before them. Jack ordered a Terran whiskey, while Zara, after some deliberation, chose a luminescent blue liquid that Jack was pretty sure could double as spacecraft fuel. So, Jack said, leaning forward once their drinks arrived, "What's our play here? We can't hide out on Nexus forever, and sooner or later, someone's going to recognize you." Zara took a sip of her drink, her eyes widening slightly at the taste before she composed herself. "We must return to Zarkon Prime. Once I reclaim my throne, I can root out the traitors who orchestrated this rebellion and restore order to the Empire." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Just like that, huh? Walk into the capital of an empire that thinks you're dead, surrounded by people who might want to keep you that way, and say, 'Hey, I'm back.'" "Your sarcasm is unbecoming, human," Zara said, but there was a hint of amusement in her voice. "Of course, it will not be that simple. We will need allies, resources, and a plan." Jack nodded, taking a swig of his whiskey. "Allies might be tough. From what I've gathered, your empire isn't exactly popular with the other species in this sector." Zara's expression darkened. The Zarkonian Empire has stood for millennia, bringing order and progress to countless worlds. If other species cannot appreciate the benefits of our rule, that is their failing, not ours. "Yeah, about that," Jack said, choosing his words carefully. "Have you ever considered that maybe, just maybe, not everyone wants to be ruled by an empire, that some species might prefer to govern themselves?" Zara stared at him as if he'd just suggested the stars were made of cheese. Self-governance. Without the guiding hand of the empire, it would be chaos, anarchy. Jack leaned back, a wry smile on his face. "You'd be surprised. Humans managed to make it to the stars without an alien empire holding our hands. We've got our problems, sure, but we're doing all right." "Your species is unique," Zara admitted grudgingly. "But surely you cannot suggest that the primitive worlds under Zarkonian protection would fare as well." Before Jack could respond, a commotion at the bar caught their attention. A group of rough-looking aliens, a mix of species Jack didn't recognize, were harassing the bartender, a small frog-like creature that looked terrified. "Oh great," Jack muttered, his hand instinctively moving to the pulse pistol hidden under his jacket. "Looks like trouble." To his surprise, Zara stood up, her eyes fixed on the scene unfolding before them. "This is unacceptable. Such behavior would never be tolerated in my empire." "Whoa, hold on," Jack said, reaching for her arm. "We can't get involved. We're trying to keep a low profile, remember?" But Zara was already moving, her tall figure cutting an imposing path through the bar. Jack cursed under his breath and followed, hoping he wouldn't regret this. "Gentle beings," Zara's voice rang out, clear and commanding. The group at the bar turned, surprise evident on their alien features. "I suggest you cease this unseemly behavior immediately." The largest of the group, a hulking reptilian with scales that shifted color like oil on water, let out a rumbling laugh. "And who's going to make us, pretty lady? You." Jack tensed, ready for a fight, but Zara remained calm. "I am Empress Zara of the Zarkonian Empire, and I order you to stand down." For a moment, there was silence. Then the group burst into raucous laughter. "An Empress? Here." The reptilians sneered. "I think someone's had a bit too much to drink." Zara's eyes narrowed, and Jack could feel the air around them practically crackle with tension. He stepped forward, placing himself between Zara and the group. "Look, fellas, why don't we all just calm down and—" He didn't get to finish. The reptilian swung a massive fist at him, clearly intending to end the confrontation quickly, but Jack was ready. Years of combat training kicked in, and he ducked under the blow, using the alien's momentum against him to send him crashing into a nearby table. All hell broke loose. The rest of the group charged forward, and Jack found himself in the middle of a classic bar brawl, except this one involved species with strengths and abilities he could only guess at. He dodged a glob of acidic spit from one alien, only to be caught by a glancing blow from another that sent him reeling. But just as he thought he might be overwhelmed, Zara entered the fray. To Jack's amazement, the Empress moved with fluid grace, her martial skills clearly honed by years of training. She dispatched two of the attackers with swift, precise strikes, her movements almost dance-like in their elegance. Working together, Jack and Zara made short work of the troublemakers. As the last of them fell unconscious to the floor, Jack turned to Zara, breathing heavily. "So much for keeping a low profile, huh?" To his surprise, Zara was smiling, a genuine expression of excitement on her face. That was invigorating. "I haven't engaged in hand-to-hand combat since my youth. You humans certainly know how to make things interesting." Jack couldn't help but laugh. "Well, I'm glad you enjoyed yourself, Your Highness. But we should probably get out of here before station security arrives." A new voice interrupted. Jack turned to see a group of armed guards entering the bar, their weapons trained on him and Zara. "I'm afraid you're both going to have to come with us." Jack sighed, raising his hands slowly. "Just once. I'd like things to be easy," he muttered. As they were led away, Zara leaned close to Jack, her voice low. "Do not worry, Jack Harper. I have experience in dealing with law enforcement across many systems. This is merely a temporary setback." Jack shook his head, a rueful smile on his face. "You know, somehow that doesn't make me feel better." As they were marched through the corridors of Nexus Station, Jack couldn't help but wonder how he'd gone from a simple scouting mission to being arrested alongside an alien Empress on a neutral space station. But as he glanced at Zara, seeing the determined set of her jaw and the glint of excitement in her eyes, he realized that his life had taken a turn he never could have predicted. Whatever came next, one thing was certain: with Empress Zara at his side, things were bound to get a whole lot more interesting. The heart of the Empire. The holding cell on Nexus Station hummed with an energy field that cast everything in a pale blue light. Jack Harper sat on a hard bench, his back against the wall, watching as Empress Zara paced back and forth like a caged predator. Despite their predicament, he couldn't help but admire her regal bearing and the way she seemed to command respect even in captivity. "You know," Jack said, breaking the tense silence, "for someone who claimed to be an expert in diplomacy, you sure have a knack for getting us into trouble." Zara paused in her pacing, fixing Jack with a sharp look. "I fail to see how defending the innocent from brutish behavior is trouble, Jack Harper." Jack chuckled, shaking his head. "On Earth we have a saying, 'When in Rome, do as the Romans do.' It means adapting to local customs and keeping a low profile. And allow injustice to persist." Zara asked, genuine confusion in her voice. "Is that truly the human way?" Before Jack could respond, the energy field flickered and disappeared. A tall, willowy alien with iridescent skin stepped into the cell, flanked by two guards. Its features were difficult to discern, constantly shifting like light on water. "I am Xandor, Chief Administrator of Nexus Station," the alien said, its voice a melodious hum. "You've caused quite a stir, Your Imperial Majesty." Zara straightened, her chin lifting. "You recognize me, then?" Xandor's form rippled in what Jack assumed was amusement. "Of course. News of your supposed demise has spread across the galaxy. Your survival complicates matters." Jack stood, moving to stand beside Zara. "Complicates them how, exactly?" The administrator's gaze shifted to Jack, and he felt as if he were being scanned from the inside out. "You are an unexpected variable human. Your kind rarely ventures this far into the galactic core." "Yeah, well, I'm full of surprises," Jack quipped, trying to hide his unease. Xandor's form shimmered again. "Indeed. The question now is what to do with you both. The Zarkonian Empire has declared Empress Zara dead, and a new ruler has taken the throne. Your return could destabilize an already fragile political situation. Zara's eyes flashed dangerously. A usurper sits upon my throne. Tell me, Xandor, who dares claim my empire? Your cousin Zorax, Xandor replied. He claims to have barely escaped the rebel attack that supposedly claimed your life. Jack noticed Zara's fists clench at her sides. Zorax, she hissed. I should have known. He has always coveted power. Xandor's form rippled once more. Be that as it may, Nexus Station must remain neutral in such matters. We cannot be seen harboring a deposed monarch, nor can we simply hand you over to those who might wish you harm. Jack's mind raced, seeing an opportunity. What if we could offer you something in return for your help? Something that could benefit Nexus Station and maintain your neutrality. Both Zara and Xandor turned to look at him, curiosity evident in their expressions. What do you propose, human? Xandor asked. Jack grinned, the beginnings of a plan forming in his mind. Information, the kind that could shift the balance of power in this sector of the galaxy. But first, we need your help getting to Zarkon Prime. Zara looked at him sharply. Jack, what are you? Trust me, Jack said quietly, before turning back to Xandor. You help us get to the Zarkonian homeworld undetected, and we'll give you intel on a secret project that could change everything. Ever heard of the Nexus Protocol? Xandor's form suddenly went still, all shimmer and movement ceasing. The Nexus Protocol is a myth, a story told to scare children and conspiracy theorists. Jack's grin widened. Oh, it's real all right, and I know where to find proof. For a long moment, silence reigned in the cell. Finally, Xandor spoke. You have my attention, human. Continue. Over the next hour, Jack spun a tale of secret research facilities, hidden data caches, and a technology so advanced it could rewrite the laws of physics. He wove truth with fiction, drawing on scraps of classified information he gathered during his time in the Terran Defense Force and embellishing them with just enough plausibility to make them irresistible. By the time he finished, even Zara was looking at him with a mixture of awe and suspicion. Xandor's form had been in constant motion throughout Jack's story, colors swirling in patterns that seemed to reflect deep thought. If what you say is true, human, the implications are staggering. But how can we trust that you will deliver on your promise? Jack shrugged. You can't. But ask yourself this. Can you afford not to take the chance? Besides, once we're on Zarkon Prime, we'll need an escape route. Help us now, and we'll transmit the data to you as soon as we have it. Another long moment of silence passed before Xandor spoke again. Very well. I will arrange transport for you to Zarkon Prime. But be warned, if you fail to deliver, the consequences will be severe. With that, the administrator turned and left, the energy field springing back to life behind them. As soon as they were alone, Zara rounded on Jack. The Nexus Protocol. Jack Harper, what game are you playing? Jack held up his hands in a placating gesture. Relax, Your Highness. It's called bluffing. I bought us a ticket to your homeworld and a potential way out if things go south. Zara's eyes narrowed. And when Xandor discovers you've lied? By then, we'll either have succeeded in reclaiming your throne, or we'll be dead, Jack said with a wry smile. Either way, it won't matter much. To his surprise, Zara laughed, a rich, melodious sound that filled the cell. You are either brilliantly mad or madly brilliant, Jack Harper. I'm not sure which. Jack bowed with a flourish. I'll take that as a compliment, Your Highness. As they settled in to wait for their transport, Jack's mind turned to the challenges ahead. Infiltrating the heart of the Zarkonian Empire would be no easy task, especially with a usurper on the throne. But as he glanced at Zara, seeing the fire of determination in her eyes, he felt a surge of confidence. Together, they just might pull this off. Hours later, they found themselves aboard a sleek, unmarked ship provided by Xandor. As they sped towards Zarkon Prime, Jack marveled at the advanced technology surrounding them. The ship seemed to move through space like a fish through water, effortlessly navigating the complex gravitational fields of the galactic core. Zara sat at the controls, her fingers dancing over holographic displays with practiced ease. Jack watched her work, impressed by her skill and adaptability. "So," he said, breaking the comfortable silence that had fallen between them, "what can we expect when we reach your homeworld? I'm guessing a warm welcome is out of the question." Zara's lips quirked in a small smile. Indeed, Zorax will have fortified his position, no doubt surrounding himself with those loyal to him. We cannot simply walk into the Imperial Palace and declare my return. Jack nodded, leaning back in his seat. "All right, so we need a plan. You must have allies still loyal to you, right? People who would support your claim to the throne." Zara's expression grew thoughtful. "Perhaps. There is one who might aid us. Thara, my former spymaster. If anyone knows the true state of affairs on Zarkon Prime, it would be her." "Great," Jack said, sitting up straighter. "So we find Kithara, gather intelligence, and figure out our next move. Sounds simple enough." Zara fixed him with a look that was equal parts amusement and exasperation. "Your optimism is admirable, Jack Harper, if somewhat misplaced. Kithara is not easily found unless she wishes to be, and even if we locate her, convincing her of my identity and securing her aid will be no small feat." Jack grinned, feeling the familiar thrill of a challenge. "Well, Your Highness, that's where I come in. If there's one thing humans are good at, it's improvising." As they approached Zarkon Prime, the planet's surface came into view. A swirling mass of silver and blue, punctuated by massive, crystalline structures that seemed to grow organically from the landscape. Jack let out a low whistle of appreciation. "Impressive," he murmured. "Your people certainly know how to build." Zara's eyes softened as she gazed upon her homeworld. Zarkon Prime is a culmination of millennia of progress and innovation. Every structure, every system is a testament to the greatness of our empire. As they entered the planet's atmosphere, following a preset flight path provided by Xandor, Jack noticed the increasing number of ships and orbital platforms surrounding them. "I hope this cloaking technology is as good as advertised," he said, tension creeping into his voice. Zara's hands tightened on the controls. "It will have to be. We're about to enter the heart of the Empire, Jack Harper. Are you ready?" Jack took a deep breath, his hand unconsciously moving to the pulse pistol at his hip. "Ready as I'll ever be, Your Highness. Let's go save your empire." As their ship descended towards a hidden landing pad on the outskirts of the capital city, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were diving headfirst into a storm. But as he looked at Zara, seeing the determination and strength in her bearing, he knew there was nowhere else he'd rather be. The heart of the Zarkonian Empire awaited, and with it, the greatest challenge of their lives. Whatever came next, Jack Harper and Empress Zara were ready to face it together. Battle for the stars. The underbelly of Zarkon Prime's capital city was a maze of shimmering alleys and pulsating neon, a stark contrast to the gleaming spires that pierced the sky above. Jack Harper and Empress Zara moved through the shadows, their faces obscured by hooded cloaks. The bustling nightlife of the city's lower levels provided the perfect cover for their clandestine mission. "I gotta say," Jack whispered, his eyes darting from one alien face to another, "this isn't quite what I pictured when you said heart of the Empire." Zara's luminous eyes glowed faintly beneath her hood. "Every empire has its shadows, Jack Harper. It is in these depths that we will find the key to reclaiming my throne." As they navigated the winding streets, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The hairs on the back of his neck stood on end, his combat instincts screaming danger. "Your Highness," he murmured, "I think we've got company." No sooner had the words left his mouth than a group of figures melted out of the darkness surrounding them. Jack's hand went to his concealed pulse pistol, but Zara's gentle touch on his arm stayed his action. "Well, well," a silky voice purred from the shadows. "What have we here?" lost little moths, drawn to the flame of the underworld. A lithe figure stepped forward, its features hidden behind an intricate mask that seemed to shift and change with every movement. Jack tensed, ready for a fight, but Zara's posture relaxed. "Hello, Cathara," the Empress said, a hint of amusement in her voice. "Your flair for the dramatic hasn't diminished, I see." The masked figure froze, then let out a low chuckle. "By the stars, it really is you." Thara removed her mask, revealing features that were at once alien and strikingly beautiful. Her skin shimmered with an iridescent quality, and her eyes were like liquid silver. "My Empress, we thought you lost." Zara lowered her hood, her regal bearing unmistakable even in the dim light of the alley. "Reports of my demise were greatly exaggerated, old friend, thanks in no small part to this human." Cathara's gaze shifted to Jack, curiosity and suspicion warring in her silver eyes. "A human? This far from Earth? Fascinating. You must tell me everything, but not here. Come, we have much to discuss." The group moved swiftly through the city's underbelly, eventually arriving at what appeared to be an abandoned warehouse. But as they entered, Jack's jaw dropped. The interior was a hive of activity, filled with advanced technology and beings of various species all working in concert. "Welcome," Thara said with a flourish, "to the heart of the resistance." Over the next few hours, Jack and Zara were brought up to speed on the state of the Empire. Zorax's rule had been brutal and oppressive, driving many loyal citizens underground. The resistance had been growing, waiting for the right moment to strike. "Your return changes everything, my Empress," Thara said, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "With you leading us, we can rally the people and overthrow the usurper." Zara nodded, her expression grave. "It won't be easy. Zorax will have fortified his position, and many will fear opposing him openly." Jack, who had been studying a holographic map of the Imperial Palace, spoke up. "What we need is a game changer, something big enough to turn the tide in our favor." Thara tilted her head, regarding Jack with newfound interest. "The human speaks wisely. As it happens, we may have just such an opportunity." She waved her hand, and the holographic display changed to show a massive space station orbiting a distant moon. "This is the Stellaris Nexus, Zorax's crowning achievement. It's a superweapon capable of destabilizing entire star systems." Jack whistled low. "Let me guess, he's planning to use it to consolidate his power." Cathara nodded. "Precisely. In 3 days, he will demonstrate its power by destroying a rebellious system. If we can seize control of the Stellaris Nexus before then, we could turn his own weapon against him," Zara finished, a fierce light in her eyes. Jack grinned, feeling the familiar rush of adrenaline that came before a dangerous mission. "Now that's what I call a plan. But how do we get aboard? I'm guessing they don't just let anyone walk in." Thara's lips curved in a sly smile. "Leave that to me. I have agents in place who can get us access. The real challenge will be navigating the station's defenses and reaching the control center." As they began to hash out the details of their daring plan, Jack couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement mixed with trepidation. This was far beyond anything he'd ever attempted in the Terran Defense Force. The fate of an entire empire, perhaps the galaxy itself, hung in the balance. The next 2 days were a whirlwind of preparation. Jack found himself working alongside beings with abilities he could scarcely comprehend, each bringing their unique skills to the mission. He was impressed by the level of coordination and determination shown by the Resistance members. As the hour of their assault approached, Jack sought out Zara. He found her on a balcony overlooking the city, her eyes fixed on the distant Imperial Palace that had once been her home. "Nervous?" he asked, coming to stand beside her. Zara turned to him, a small smile playing on her lips. "Empresses do not get nervous, Jack Harper." Jack chuckled. "Right, of course not. Silly me." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment before Zara spoke again, her voice softer than he'd ever heard it. "Thank you, Jack, for everything. I'm not sure I would have made it this far without you. Jack felt a warmth spread through his chest at her words. Hey, what are interdimensional partners in crime for, right? Zora's laugh was like music, dispelling the tension that had been building. As their eyes met, Jack felt a connection that went beyond words, beyond the differences in their species. In that moment, he knew he would follow this remarkable woman to the ends of the universe. The moment was broken by Cathara's arrival. It's time, she said, her voice taut with anticipation. As they made their way to the waiting ships that would take them to the Stellaris Nexus, Jack felt a surge of determination. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he was ready to face them. The journey to the space station was tense but uneventful. Keras agents had done their job well, providing them with the codes and clearances needed to approach undetected. As they docked with the massive structure, Jack marveled at its size and complexity. Impressive, he muttered. And terrifying, Zara added, her eyes hard. To think Zorax would build such a monstrosity. Their team moved swiftly through the station's corridors, Cathara's inside knowledge guiding them past security checkpoints and patrol routes. But as they neared the central control hub, alarms suddenly blared to life. We've been made, Cathara hissed, drawing a sleek energy weapon. Jack's combat training kicked in instantly. Zara, Cathara, get to the control room. I'll hold them off. Zara's eyes widened. Jack, no, you can't. Go, Jack insisted, already taking up a defensive position. The mission comes first, remember. With a last, lingering look, Zara nodded and raced off with Cathara towards the control room. Jack turned to face the oncoming security forces, his pulse pistol humming with energy. What followed was a battle unlike any Jack had ever experienced. The station's security forces were well-trained and well-equipped, but they had never faced a human fighting for something he believed in. Jack ducked, rolled, and fired, using every trick he'd learned in his years of combat. He lost track of time, focused only on survival and buying Zara the time she needed. Just when he thought he might be overwhelmed, a familiar voice rang out of the station's comm system. Attention, citizens of the Zarkonian Empire. This is your true Empress, Zara, returned from the dead to reclaim what is rightfully mine. Jack grinned, using a momentary distraction to take down 2 more guards. Zara's voice continued, strong and commanding. Zorax is a usurper and a tyrant. He would use this abomination, the Stellaris Nexus, to terrorize innocent worlds into submission. I say no more. Today, we take back our empire and forge a new path, one of justice, progress, and unity. The security forces around Jack began to waver, uncertainty clear in their movements. Zara's words were having an effect. To all loyal citizens, I call upon you now. Rise up. Join us in overthrowing this pretender and restoring true leadership to the Empire. The power of the Stellaris Nexus is now under our control. Zorax's reign ends today. As if to punctuate her words, the station shuddered beneath their feet. Through a nearby viewport, Jack saw beams of energy lancing out into space, targeting what he assumed was Zorax's loyalist fleets. The security forces around him lowered their weapons, many dropping to their knees in supplication. Jack breathed a sigh of relief, allowing himself a moment to feel the various aches and injuries he'd accumulated during the fight. He made his way to the control room, finding Zara and Cathara surrounded by holographic displays showing the battle unfolding across the Empire. Zara's eyes lit up when she saw him, relief evident on her face. Jack, you're alive. He grinned, giving a mock salute. Can't get rid of me that easily, Your Highness. As reports flooded in from across the Empire, tales of uprisings, defections, and Zorax's forces in retreat, Jack realized that they had done it. Against all odds, they had changed the course of galactic history. Zara turned to him, her eyes shining with a mixture of triumph and something deeper, more personal. We did it, Jack. We really did it. Jack's grin softened into a warm smile. Yeah, we did. So, what's next for the newly restored Empress of the Zirconian Empire? Zara's gaze turned thoughtful as she looked out at the stars. There's much work to be done. Rebuilding, reforming, perhaps even redefining what it means to be an empire in this galaxy. She turned back to Jack, reaching out to take his hand. And I find myself hoping that a certain human might be willing to stick around and help with that process. Jack felt his heart skip a beat. The universe stretched out before them, full of possibilities and adventures yet to come. With a squeeze of Zara's hand, he knew his answer. "Your Highness," he said with a grin, "I thought you'd never ask." As the Stellaris Nexus continued its orbit, now a symbol of liberation rather than oppression, Jack Harper and Empress Zara stood side by side, ready to face whatever challenges the future might hold. Together, a new dawn. The grand halls of the Imperial Palace on Zarkon Prime echoed with the sounds of celebration. Beings from across the galaxy had gathered to witness a historic moment, the official coronation of Empress Zara and the dawn of a new era for the Zirconian Empire. Jack Harper, dressed in a sleek uniform that blended Terran and Zirconian styles, stood at the front of the crowd. His eyes were fixed on Zara as she ascended the crystalline steps to the throne, her silver skin gleaming in the light of 1,000 hovering luminaries. As Zara took her seat, a hush fell over the assembled dignitaries. She raised her hand, and a holographic display sprang to life, filling the air with swirling galaxies and star systems. "My fellow citizens of the cosmos," Zara began, her voice ringing clear and strong, "today marks not just my return to the throne, but the rebirth of our empire. For too long, we have been a force of conquest and subjugation. No more. Today, we embark on a new path, one of cooperation, innovation, and mutual prosperity." Murmurs rippled through the crowd as Zara's words sank in. Jack couldn't help but smile, remembering the conversations they had in the weeks following Zorax's defeat. Zara had been determined to learn from Earth's history, to find a balance between leadership and freedom. To that end, Zara continued, "I am proud to announce the formation of the Galactic Cooperative, a union of worlds working together to solve the greatest challenges of our time. And to lead this initiative, I have chosen someone who has shown me the true meaning of courage, adaptability, and vision." Zara's eyes found Jack in the crowd, and she smiled. "Jack Harper of Earth, please step forward." Jack blinked in surprise, his heart racing as he made his way to the foot of the throne. Zara stood, descending the steps to meet him. "Jack Harper," she said, her voice softer now, but still carrying to every corner of the hall, "you have proven yourself not just as a warrior, but as a diplomat and a visionary. Will you accept the position of ambassador of the Galactic Cooperative to bridge the gap between our empire and the emerging spacefaring races of the galaxy?" Jack felt a surge of emotion, pride, excitement, and a touch of nervousness. But as he looked into Zara's eyes, seeing the trust and affection there, he knew his answer. "It would be my honor, Your Majesty," he said with a bow. The hall erupted in applause, but Jack barely noticed. In that moment, it was just him and Zara, standing on the precipice of a new adventure. The celebrations continued long into the night, with representatives from dozens of worlds mingling and discussing the possibilities that lay ahead. Jack found himself at the center of attention, fielding questions about Earth and humanity's rapid ascent to the stars. As the party began to wind down, Jack slipped away to a quiet balcony overlooking the capital city. The skyline was a breathtaking blend of organic crystal structures and advanced technology, all bathed in the soft light of Zarkon Prime's 3 moons. He sensed Zara's presence before she spoke, a skill he developed over their time together. "Quite a view, isn't it?" she said, coming to stand beside him. Jack nodded, a contented smile on his face. "It's beautiful. Though I have to say, I'm looking forward to showing you the views on Earth someday." Zara's eyes lit up at the prospect. "I would like that very much, Jack. But first, we have a galaxy to unite." As they stood there, looking out at the future they were building together, a shimmering portal suddenly appeared in the air before them. Jack tensed, reaching for a weapon that wasn't there, but Zara placed a calming hand on his arm. From the portal emerged a being unlike any Jack had ever seen, a swirling mass of energy and light that somehow conveyed a sense of ancient wisdom. "Greetings, Empress Zara and Ambassador Harper," the being said, its voice resonating in their minds rather than their ears. "I am Naga, a watcher of the cosmic confluence." Jack and Zara exchanged glances, both equally bewildered. "I'm sorry," Jack said, "but what exactly is the cosmic confluence?" The being's form rippled in what might have been amusement. "It is the gathering of advanced civilizations across the multiverse, young ones. We have been observing your reality, and your recent actions have caught our attention." Zara stepped forward, her regal bearing on full display. "And what interest does the cosmic confluence have in our affairs?" "Your coalition of worlds, this galactic cooperative," Naga explained, "it has the potential to elevate your entire reality to new heights of existence. But it also faces grave dangers, threats from beyond the boundaries of your known universe." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. What kind of threats are we talking about? The being's form shifted, projecting images of unimaginable horrors, reality-devouring entities, parasitic dimensions, and cosmic aberrations that defied comprehension. "These are but a few of the challenges that await as you expand your influence," Naga said. "The cosmic confluence offers guidance and resources to promising civilizations to help them navigate the perils of higher dimensional existence." Zara's eyes narrowed slightly. "And what would you ask in return for this guidance?" "Only that when the time comes, and your civilization has reached the necessary level of advancement, you too will join the confluence and help guide other realities in turn," Naga replied. Jack and Zara shared a long look, years of trust and shared experiences allowing them to communicate volumes without a word. Finally, Jack turned back to the cosmic being. "We're interested," he said, "but we'll need time to discuss this with our allies. This isn't a decision we can make alone." Naga's form brightened. "Of course. Wisdom in leadership is a trait we value highly. We will return when you have reached a consensus." With that, the being vanished, leaving Jack and Zara alone once more on the balcony. "Well," Jack said after a moment, "I guess uniting a galaxy was just the beginning." Zara laughed, the sound filled with equal parts excitement and disbelief. "Indeed, it seems the universe, or shall I say, multiverse, has much greater plans for us." As they stood there, the weight of this new revelation settling over them, Jack felt a sense of anticipation unlike anything he'd experienced before. The challenges ahead were daunting, perhaps even terrifying, but he knew that together they could face anything. "You know," Jack said, a mischievous glint in his eye, "when I signed up for the Terran Defense Force, I never imagined I'd end up as a multiversal ambassador married to an alien empress." Zara raised an eyebrow, amusement playing at the corners of her mouth. "Married, Jack Harper? I don't recall that particular ceremony taking place." Jack's cheeks flushed slightly, but he pressed on with a grin. "Well, Your Majesty, perhaps that's something we should remedy before we dive into interdimensional politics." Zara's expression softened, and she reached out to take Jack's hand. "Perhaps we should, my dear ambassador." As they sealed their agreement with a kiss, the first rays of Zarkon Prime's sun peeked over the horizon, bathing the city in golden light. It was a new dawn, not just for the Empire or the galaxy, but for all of existence. The story of Jack Harper and Empress Zara was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. Their journey would take them to the farthest reaches of the cosmos, facing challenges and wonders beyond imagination. But through it all, they would have each other, their love a beacon of hope in the vast, mysterious multiverse. As news of the cosmic confluence spread throughout the galactic cooperative, beings across countless worlds looked to the stars with renewed wonder and purpose. The universe, it seemed, was far grander and more intricate than anyone had ever dreamed. And at the heart of it all stood a human and a Zarkonian, that unlikely partnership a testament to the incredible potential that lay in unity, understanding, and love. The galaxy watched and waited, ready to embark on the greatest adventure in the history of any reality. The age of cosmic enlightenment had begun, and Jack and Zara would lead the way, hand in hand, world by world, dimension by dimension. Their story would be told for eons to come, a legend that spanned universes and inspired countless civilizations to reach for the stars and beyond. In the end, it was a simple truth that echoed across the multiverse. Love, courage, and understanding could overcome any obstacle, bridge any gap, and unite even the most distant of stars.